Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now, there might be a lot of cuts in this video because I'm currently recording ill. I have a cold. It's nothing horrible like a fever or anything like that, but like I've gone through an entire box of Kleenexes, so if there are a bunch of cuts, it's because I'm sneezing my butt out, okay? It's really crazy, dude. Life really just comes at you fast because literally yesterday, I was at the gym and I hit a new PR for my 5K run or my 3.1 mile run. And in that same day, I just came back feeling kind of under the weather. And now I'm just like full blown, like just sneezing my butt out. It's crazy. But you know what else is fast? Prize cards. I feel like I could make pretty good segues into sponsors. But no, I'm not gonna make you watch some Raid Shadow Legends ad, dude. But like, yes, we're gonna talk about my legendary prize cards. I've really been enjoying this top 10 like presentation kind of video, you know, like countdown kind of video. So I'm gonna go through all of my prize cards. I'm gonna tell you my prize cards with the most races, my prize cards with the lowest win ratio, and my prize cards with the highest daily use. We're gonna do top 10 on all three categories to see which are my most useful and probably least useful prize cards in my garage. Now remember, this is a very personal standpoint. These are my prize cards, so you know the numbers do dictate what is in my garage. Like I probably would be using, for example, maybe the Audi R18 TDI a little bit less if I had a Rimac Nevera, etc, etc. You know what I mean? So, or maybe the Chiron. That makes more sense. I might be using my Chiron next less if I had the Nevera, but I don't have the Nevera, so my Chiron gets more use still. So, without further ado, I'm gonna blow my nose and we're gonna get into it. Right, so that's one cut. That has to be at least one cut. But anyway, we're gonna start off with the most races. So we're gonna talk about the top 10 cars with the most races in my entire garage. In 10th place is the Dodge Viper GTSR. I have this Max 233 and I've raced it 3,899 times. It's a really useful car. Still one of the best Dodges in the entire game. Not unfortunately, but fortunately, it's still better than, you know, the Pacific Coast Highway Dodges that I just can't seem to unpack. The only issue is this Dodge doesn't usually compete with the Pacific Coast Highway Dodges anyway, because Hutch has seemed to have forgotten about any update before World Expo. So whenever you need a Pacific Coast Highway Dodge, just because you kind of only have them as an option, like the requirements are usually World Expo Plus. And I feel like this kind of approach towards heavily favoring the new updates has really taken a toll on my average daily use on some of these OG prize cars, as we will see later on. Moving on to 9th place with 4,296 races is my McLaren Senna. Now, this car I won, I believe, the same year as the Viper GTSR. I believe this was 2021 when it came out, sometime during the pandemic. It wasn't a good time, but it was a good time, at least on that day when I won the car. It's really good, and for the longest time, it was one of my best British legendaries, one of my best British cars. Now I can say that I probably split the Senna's usage alongside my Ultima RS and the P1 GTR, but still, it's a really good car. And this is obviously back in the day before, when I won the Senna, I didn't win the P1 GTR yet when it came back for a rerun, and the Ultima RS didn't even exist at that point. So yeah, 4,296 races. Moving on, in 8th place is my fully upgraded Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak. Now it's pretty interesting to see how many of these cars I have fully upgraded in my top 10 most used. So far it's 2 out of 3. The next one being the Escudo. I have this at 233, which I like to say dry spec. 4,373 races, and I need to blow my nose again. All right, well, that should be cut number 2 if I remembered that. Yeah, literally cannot leave the house right now without a box of Kleenex. Anyway, Escudo Pikes Peak comes in 8th place. I use this car all the time. Basically, if it's dirt dry or asphalt dry, there is going to be a very high chance that I use the Escudo Pikes Peak. This thing is an absolute beast, and I freaking love this car. Until this day, even with all the new Evos added to the game, the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak, I almost said Suzuki Evo Pikes Peak, Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak is still the highest handling four-wheel drive off-road tire car in the game, and I think that's one of the main reasons to why I value it at such a high regard. Back in the day, this thing used to be RQ87. Can you believe it? Hutch do not know their RQ, dude. All right, moving on, in 7th place with 4,646 races, 4646. is the Lamborghini Urus. Again, I won this sometime during the pandemic. I think this was 2020. I think it was like German 5-seaters or something like that, that you needed to win. I can't remember what the requirements were anymore. I just remember I had to use an RS6 or something like that. But yeah, it's a really great car. It still is the best all-surface tire car in the game, because, well, the best all-surface tire SUV high ground clearance car in the game, because they've not released the Macan GTS or the Cayenne GTS, whatever it is. So until that car is released, then this car will still remain the best. Moving on in 6th place, another Lamborghini with 4,682 races is my Huracan Performante. Again, I won this at the start of 2020, the same year as the Urus. This was the first time, not the second time. Imagine that I got this the second time and I already got it up to 4,682 races. That's going to be almost impossible, honestly. But I've used this car a lot, dude. It's honestly my favorite Lamborghini in the game. At least, like, in terms of, like, how useful it is. My favorite Lamborghini in real life? Ooh. Probably a Miura SVJ, but the Huracan Performante is my favorite in the game. It is so ridiculously strong. I love the MRA. It's not too strong, but it's strong enough. Handling is alright. The 0 to 60 is okay. It's a great all-rounder. It is the best of the all-rounders. The thing is, I don't like all-rounders, because the issue with all-rounders is if you're not the best all-rounder, then you're probably crap. But when it comes to Lamborghinis, this is the best all-rounder, so I use it a lot. Moving on in 5th place is my Alfa Romeo 164 Pro car, 4,724 races, and I do believe there's going to be a very steep jump after this one. This is a relatively new car. I think this was like late 2021, so I believe that this is the newest car in this top 10 list of most race cars. It is really, really good. I have it maxed once again, so that's the 3rd car in this list that I have fully upgraded, 233, and it is one of the best cars. I love it so much. It's a ridiculously low 0 to 60, great MRA, saloon, and it handles really well, and it's really light as well. And that is going to be the 3rd cut, because I need to blow my nose again. Okay, 4, and as you can see, massive jump. We go from 4,724 races up to 9,310. That is crazy. But in 4th place is indeed obviously Blossom Jr., my Dodge Challenger Demon, which I won on the first time. Again, another prize car which I have fully upgraded, 332, and this has gone through 9,310 races. Absolutely crazy, dude. Until this day, I still use it a lot. It is still one of the best Dodge dragsters in the game, although you will never want to put it on a test bowl anymore, and also it will never qualify for a 5-seater event anymore because it used to be a 5-seater, and also I can't use it in the rain anymore because it used performance tires. So I'm definitely going to use it a lot less. I would say that the first 8K races of its lifespan is gonna be going is like how am I gonna say this to make sense? Like it's going to hit the next 8K of its lifespan like 6 times slower than the first 8K of its lifespan. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna use it a lot less now, considering I have cars like the Hennessy and all that. But it's still a really good car. Moving on in 3rd place is my Bugatti Chiron Sport. I won this at the start of 2020, I believe. Yeah, 2020, not 20. Yeah, 2020. 9,509 races. This is an OG one. I honestly, this car is so old. It's never been rerun. It's never been back. Where it's to the point where when I see someone has this car now, I'm just like, oh, you're actually a bit of an OG player. You've been playing this game for, you know, at least like 4 years. So yeah, dude, like I can't believe it. Now this car is literally known as the OG car. It used to be the 918, but the 918's been out a couple times now. So the Chiron Sport is one of those few cars where it was given out such a long time ago, and it's not been back since. Ironically, the prize car that came out like 2 weeks before the Chiron Sport was a Huracan Performante, and that was given out like 2 weeks ago. So it'll be funny if the Chiron Sport's given out next week. But anyway, moving on is the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 8 in 2nd place with over 10,000 races, 10,031. So just over 10,000 races. I freaking love this car. I've had it for a long time as an epic, as a legendary. I max it as a legendary. It is insane. It is a bit sad that it got a recent nerf. The 0 to 60 is not as good as it used to be. It used to be 3.3, now it's 3.5 stock, which means that it went from 2.7 seconds to 2.9. But it's still really strong. 4-wheel drive, handles well, medium ground clearance, saloon, 5-seater, the lot. And last but not least, my most used prize car, and it's not even close, with 13,264 races, it is the Porsche 918 Spider. Again, I won this in 2019 in June, And until today, I still use it, honestly. I'm pretty sure I used it in yesterday's daily, which I won. So, you know, first place. So it's still a very, very useful car till this day, and it is the last car in this list that I have fully upgraded. So I think half of the cars in my top 10 list are fully upgraded. 918's maxed, Evo's maxed, Demon's max, Pro Cars max, so that's 4, Escudo's max, 5, and GTSR's max, so that's 6 out of 10. But anyway, moving on to our second list now. It's the lowest win ratio, and that's also the fourth cut because I need to blow my nose again. Oh man, you know how it is, bruh. You know how it is. I've already gone through like 8 plies of tissue. Okay, man. Anyway, lowest win ratios. Now, the only requirement is I need to have done more than 100 races with the car. So I have a couple cars where the win ratios are like 60%, 50%, but then it doesn't really reflect that accurately because I've only done like 2-4 races with them. So 100 races or more than 100 races is the minimum, okay? And in 10th place is the Gumper de Polo R with a win ratio of 84%. Now remember, the percentage is going to get lower and lower when we go down from 10th place to first. So 84 is the highest that you're going to see. Honestly, I don't use this car too often. I have like 240 races on this car, and it's been around for a very long time. It's just kind of underwhelming, I guess. Top speed isn't very high for an RQ96. 0 to 60 could be a little bit better. Handling could be a little bit better. Yeah, win ratio isn't that good, honestly. 84%. Anyway, moving on, tied in 10th place is my Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. Also 84 races, and I have like 1,000 races, maybe 2,000 races on this car. I think the main reason to why the win ratio is relatively low is because this is the car that I designate. It's completely opposite from why it's 100% ZR1. Like, this is the American car I designate to lose by 50 to cars like SCGs and stuff like that. The reason why my GTSR win rate and my ACR win rates are so high is because my ZR1 win rate is so low. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm sorry, Wyatt. It is what it is. But this is the car that I kind of choose to lose by 50 when I'm going up against big American monsters, namely the SCG. Also tied in 10th place is, of course, the car that I despise, which is the Jaguar Project 8. And I feel like I say this every time when I feature this car on my channel. I think it's super cool in real life. I love saloons, guys. You remember this. I love saloons. I literally borderline have a fetish for saloons. Okay, it's not that bad, but I freaking love saloons, okay? I really do. I mean, I drive one, for crying out loud. Not a Project 8, but a saloon. And I love them. But like in the game, it's just so bad. I don't know. Something about like 4-wheel drive British cars that just cannot handle. Like, I can't think of a 4-wheel drive British car that goes above 92. The Arash is 91. The Project 8 is 90. I think only the Avia is 93. I can't remember, honestly. But yeah, dude, it's just a bit of a shame. 84% win rate, and I have like over 1,000 races on this car as well. Joint 10th. Anyway, moving on in 7th place with 83% is the Bentley. It basically sounds like me when I'm sneezing, you know, for this entire day, basically. I'm not that sick. Like, I can talk, and I have an appetite, and I have my energy, but like, I just can't do anything without nose just sneezing, and I need to blow my nose for a 5th time. I mean, I can't go more than like 6 sentences without needing to blow my nose. I swear to God. It's so troublesome. Anyway. On the air, 83% win ratio. Big sad. Moving on. This is also really sad. I don't know why there's so many damn British cars in this list, dude. What? I'm seeing a trend here that I've not noticed before. 82% on my 177. And I think the main reason for this is because it is also like the Corvette, a car that I like to lose by 50 on. It's got a really high top speed, really good MRA, and I like to put it up against like Bugattis and stuff because they only lose by 50 or like very minuscule points, like 60 or something like that. Like, they are great RQ savers when it comes to like the legendary competition. And I just realized, guys, do you see that? Oh my goodness. Now that we're seeing a zoom there, look at that. The person you can see in the reflection of the back of the 177, the car that's taking a photo of this car is a W212 E63. I get very excited when I see W212s now. That's so cool. I'm actually more excited with the car that's taking the... No, I'm not. It's a 177. It's so freaking cool. But yeah, 82% win ratio. I use it a decent amount. But yeah, it is to lose. Moving on, 5th place. Surprisingly, I'm actually genuinely surprised that I have more than 100 races on this Kagera. No, you know why? I know why. Because back in the day, before Amalfi Coast, there would be Alpha ×5 in clubs, and there were only 3 Alpha legendaries you could use. It was the Quadrifoglio, it was the Pro Car and the Skigera, right? So at least there were only 3 I could use. I think it was 4 in total because the Stelvio. Yeah, dude, like I had to use it, you know, for alpha clubs, and it would just lose the epics and stuff. So yeah, 79%. It's terrible. Moving on in 4th place, another British car is the F1 GTR. Now this one took me by surprise. 78% win ratio. I did not expect it to be that bad, but it is. It's a decent car. Again, I think it suffers a lot of the same issues that the Gumpert suffers, as in, like, the top speed isn't very high compared to its competition. 0 to 60 could be a little bit better, and the handling could be a little bit better. So many times I've said 3095, I think of, like, you know, an RQ89 or RQ90. 92 is a bit too high, you know? So yeah, 78% on the McLaren F1. Moving on to 3rd place is a German car, my first ever Tri-Series prize car. It was a Porsche 911 GT1 Strassenvision, 75%, and I got like over 2,000 races on this car. I gotta say, this car is actually pretty bad. RQ82, you know, I have it at 1 star. I can't blame it too much. It's 3.394 for crying out loud. There are many epics that will beat this car now. So yeah, 75% is actually very, very disappointing for a legendary. But there are 2 more cars that are worse. In 2nd place, oh, Corn's gonna be mad. It's the Celsonic. It's the Group A. Spoolie's gonna be mad too. 74% on my Nissan R32. I like using it. I like this car. It's like literally one of my favorite Japanese cars in existence. And I was actually surprised to see that it had a win ratio of 74, but it does. I don't even remember this car losing that much, but apparently it does. And anyway, last but not least, the car that loses the most, and I think it's 73%, 72% is my BMW M3 GTR. Again, much like the ZR1, much like the other car that I was talking about in this list, the McLaren, I'm really only using this car to save RQ. In very high RQ legendary events where I just need to save a little bit of RQ, but I can still use a legendary. And this is a car where sometimes I think it might be able to beat an epic, maybe. But it'll definitely lose to most legendaries I put it up against, just to save by 50. But yeah, 72%, man. I did not expect this car to be as low as it did, but it is. Anyway, the final top 10 list that we're going to talk about today is we're going to end with good news, right? My favorite stat, which are cars that I use per day. Like, you know, how many times do I use a car on average per day? And we start off in 10th place with 4.45. So on average, I use my Suzuki Escudo 4.45 a day, 4.4 times a day since I won the car. And to give you some extra stats, my win ratio on my Escudo Pikes Peak is 96%. So there's going to be a massive contrast to the 72% that we saw earlier. So 96%, and I use it 4.4 times a day, 4.45 times a day, which is incredible. And again, every car that you see here with their win percentages and their, you know, dailies, I've done more than 200 races with them already. Moving on is the GTR LM Nismo, 95% win ratio, and I use it 4.8 times a day. I need to blow my nose for, what, 5 times? I don't even know. I'm back. I'm alive. I do remember. I really hope that I will remember to cut out every single, you know, cut, every single nose blow that I do in this recording. But next is the GTR LM Nismo, right? Obviously this is like the god of front wheel drive clubs. I've used it like at least 1,000 times, I think. Maybe I should have put in the races, the total amount of races I've done for this car. But yeah, 95% win ratio, and mine is slightly upgraded, 121. No, it's 112, and I use it 8-9 times a day. Whenever it's front wheel driving clubs, I'm using it like 20 times a day, let's be real. Moving on in 8th place is my Pro Car. Again, a 95% win ratio, and I use it 5.14 times a day. This thing is amazing. I freaking love it so much, and I've already talked about it earlier on in the video. Moving on in 7th place, we say hello to my Demon. This number is gonna go down though. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's 5.61. If I ever make this video again, it's probably gonna go down to like, you know, 5.5, 5.4. It's gonna slowly go down because, like I said, I don't use my Challenger Demon as much as I used to. I'm pretty sure back in the day it used to be like 6 times a day, but now it's 5.6. Still though, a 95% win ratio, and it's still a very formidable car in my garage. Moving on in 6th place, which is the better version of the Demon, is my Hennessy Venom GT, and as you can see, it has overtaken the Demon as well. Same amount of win ratio, 95. I have this upgraded 2 stars, and I use it on average of 5.98 times a day. I love this car so much. This is now like my favorite American dragster, and I'm slowly maxing it out. And that's saying a lot for a car that's yellow, which is my most hated color, and that isn't a Dodge. Moving on to 5th place is my Evo 8. I use it on an average of 6.14 times a day. It has a 93% win ratio. I think that's slightly gone down with the nerf that it had, but I still use it a crap ton. I think if you guys remember in the first part of the video, you would know I have 10,013 races on this car. Now, moving on to 4th place is my Sauber C11 Mercedes-Benz. I use it on an average of 6.18 times a day. I have it fully upgraded to 233. This is a fairly new acquisition as well. I won this car this year, and it's already in the 4th spot for cars that I use the most. It has a 96% win ratio, and I use it, I think if I remember correctly, 2,000 times, something like that. It is high. Anyway, moving on to the top 3 now, we have the Audi R18 TDI Ultra, another super new inclusion, 97% win ratio, and I use it on an average of 6.54 times a day. Now, what is crazy is that I tend to use, at least by this stat, I tend to use my R18 slightly more than my Mercedes C11, and my C11 is max. My R18 is stock. I mean, it's not stock, but it's a 1 star. You know, there's no upgrades in it, so that's crazy. All right, moving on to 2nd place with a 91% win ratio is my Porsche 918 Spider. You guys know I've clocked in 13,000 races on this car already, and I use it an average of 7.05 times a day. This thing is like royalty in my garage. And last but not least, with the highest win ratio of 7.49 is the Bugatti Chiron Sport. I've used it 7.49 times a day. It has a 94% win ratio, and I think if you remember it, I think I clocked in about 9,000 races on this car. So yeah, at the end of the day, these are the glowing lights of prize cars in my garage. The Bugatti Chiron, the Evo, the 918. If they made it in this last top 10, they probably made it in the first top 10 of this video as well. But anyway, guys, let me know down in the comments below, what kind of top 10 video do you want to see next? It doesn't need to be a top 10, just a countdown in general. But anyway, I need to go blow my goddamn nose. I hope you guys have a great day. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville.
Atlantic.
Blonde hair